And the New Jersey Governor's Task Force on Child Abuse and Neglect wants you to know that you can do something about child abuse. For help or information, call 1-800-THE-KIDS. Here are the latest tri-state area conditions from the WNBC Traffic and Transit Network. Outbound lower level 59th Street Bridge has been reopened. There were some earlier police problems there. Inbound at the Holland and Lincoln Tunnels and the George Washington Bridge, all 10-minute delays. WNBC Sports, the National League Championship Series resumes tonight at Shea Stadium. The visiting Dodgers are sending John Tudor to the mound. The Mets counter with Ron Darling. After the Dodgers' victory Wednesday night, the series is tied in games 1-1. Today, a traveling day for the American League Championship Troopers. The show continues in Oakland tomorrow night. The Red Sox, who failed to take advantage of their opportunities at friendly Fenway, are trailing in the series 2-0. The Sox expect to send Mike Boddicker to the mound in Game 3, the home team probably countering with Bob Welch. And on the ice tonight, the Islanders skate against the Oilers in Edmonton. WNBC weather, mostly cloudy and cool this afternoon, high in the mid-50s. Cloudy, cool tonight, low 42-45. Mostly cloudy and chilly tomorrow, a chance of light rain or drizzle, high 52-55. The outlook for Sunday, partly cloudy and cool. Right now it's 53 degrees. It's not easy to say so long. That's what's happening. I'm Julia Hernandez, WNBC News.
This is WNBC, the first 66 years, a retrospective of one of America's great radio stations. Here's your host, Dale Parsons. A look back at the history of WNBC is a journey through the pages of the history of broadcasting. Through the years, the station's call letters and format have changed numerous times, but one principle has remained constant. WNBC has consistently provided listeners some of radio's most innovative, informative, and entertaining programming. From music with Rudy Valley in the evening to comedy with Imus in the morning. This is the story of a broadcasting institution, WNBC Radio. Our trip through time begins 6 years before the station's 1922 debut. Young David Sarnoff was an employee of the Marconi Telegraph Company and a 20th century prophet. In 1916, Sarnoff wrote a letter to his boss outlining a dream.
I have in mind a plan of development which would make radio a household utility in the same sense as the piano or phonograph. The idea is to bring music into the house by wireless. The receiver can be designed in the form of a simple radio music box and arranged for several different wavelengths.
As America entered the roaring 20s, Sarnoff's music box was nothing more than a device for the experimenter. Primitive sets consisted of a crystal rubbing against copper wire wound on a cylinder. It was during this period that the American Telephone and Telegraph Company filed applications for an experimental transmitter. On April 19, 1922, the earliest predecessor of WNBC took to the air as W2XY. A limited commercial license was accorded the station on July 25th of that year, with the call letters WBAY. A few weeks later, at 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, August 16th, the call letters were changed to WEAF during a 3-hour gala broadcast.
This is radio station WEAF. This is the world's first toll broadcasting station. The studio is located at 24 Walker Street in New York City. Heretofore broadcasting has been gratis to all. Now, due to the great demand by those who wish to use the airwaves for goodwill purpose, and with only one wavelength available, 360 meters, we are offering toll broadcasting service. You're now about to hear some Victor phonograph records.
Amid the static whistles and squeals that accompanied early broadcasts, WEAF's 500-watt transmitter offered listeners a variety of news reports, sporting events, musical programs, and on the afternoon of August 28, 1922, radio's first commercial. Mr. H.M. Blackwell of the Queensboro Corporation addressed the WEAF listening audience.
Friends, you owe it to yourself and your family to leave the congested city and enjoy what nature intended you to enjoy. Visit our new apartment homes in Hawthorne Court, Jackson Heights, where you may enjoy community life in a friendly environment.
The Jackson Heights development was Hawthorne Court, named for Nathaniel Hawthorne. The sponsors paid WEAF $100 for the 10-minute message. The establishment of a national radio network had become a high priority for David Sarnoff, who, by the mid-20s, had become vice president of the Radio Corporation of America. Sarnoff convinced the RCA board of directors to create such a network, the National Broadcasting Company. Additionally, RCA purchased WEAF from AT&T for $1 million. The station would become the flagship for the NBC chain. On the evening of November 15th, 1926, the first NBC broadcast was fed to a network of 26 stations. 1,000 guests gathered in the ballroom of the old Waldorf Astoria at 34th Street and 5th Avenue. NBC President Merlin Aylesworth addressed the crowd, as well as a radio audience estimated in the millions.
Beginning tonight, you will receive a new thrill in radio. In the future, those engaged in productions will, through the power of radio broadcasting, with modern radio equipment, offer their talent, whether in song, drama, comedy, or...
For the next 4.5 hours, WEAF and the new NBC network presented broadcasting's first spectacular. There was something for everyone, from classical compositions to the political satire of Will Rogers, who sent his performance over telephone lines from the dressing room of a theater he was in Kansas City.
It seems strange that we don't hold the automobile speed record. There's millions trying to break it every day. Before we had this high type of civilization, which we're so thoroughly enjoying, why, we used to have wars to get rid of the surplus number of people. A fellow in England claimed that he got to heaven and that it was great, and he's sorry that they revived him again.
Popular music was represented by some of the top orchestras of the day. There was Ben Burney.
This is Ben Burney, the voice of experience speaking. Elsa. And now the time has come to lend thine ears to Au revoir, pleasant dreams. Au revoir, pleasant dreams. Think of us when requesting your theme.
Vincent Lopez.
Hello, everybody. Lopez speaking.
And George Olson. NBC, radio's first network, was on the air. There were, however, a few wrinkles that needed to be ironed out. One problem was network station break time, as the late H.V. Kaltenborn, WEAF's first newscaster, once explained.
The announcer would suck in his breath and rattle off, "This is station WEAF, WJR, WTAG, WTIC, WLIT, WCSH," naming every station on the hookup. That was in 1926. A few months and several breathless announcers later, we bought the electrical chimes. They cost only $48.50 at the time, but think of all the trouble they save as we now take a short pause for station identification.
If you missed the Sealy Incredible Authorized Factory Liquidation Sale, here's a second chance to save and save big on famous Sealy bedding. Sealy is moving out thousands of mattresses and box springs from...
Dance across the pillowcase till you see the sweetest face.
One of the most popular programs of the day was hosted by Billy Jones and Ernie Hare, the Happiness Boys.
Don't let her go. You're not fast, but not too slow. You'll never find a fella like me. Just feel great, you just laugh. I tore up her photograph. You'll never find a fella like me.
And news was fast becoming an important element of the WEAF program schedule. There were daily newscasts, as well as special bulletins.
This is Lowell Thomas in New York. He made it. Charles A. Lindbergh, Lucky Lindy as they call him, landed at Le Bourget Airport, Paris at 5:24 this afternoon, thus becoming the first person to fly New York to Paris non-stop.
America was in a jubilant mood. Installment plans had enabled millions to enjoy the good life today and pay later. Residing in Hawthorne Court and living the Nathaniel Hawthorne life was within the grasp of many. It all seemed too good to be true. And it was. October 27th, 1929. Wall Street's Black Tuesday stock market crash marked the official end of the fun-loving Roaring '20s. Millions faced financial ruin. Some stockbrokers followed the descent of their fortunes by plunging from the upper floors of tall buildings. And such news items became comedic fodder for WEAF entertainers like Eddie Cantor.
Nowadays, when a man walks into a hotel and requests a room on the 19th floor, the clerk asks him for sleeping or jumping.
To a nation in the grip of history's worst economic nightmare, WEAF offered a means of escape through the music and comedy of one of radio's first superstars. From the Fleischman Hour, Rudy Valley.
My time is your time. Your time is my time. There's no time like our time, and no one like you.
The mood of radio programming on WEAF was in sharp contrast to the closed factories, lost fortunes, and endless bread lines of the late 20s and early 1930s. But each evening, entertainers like Jack Benny helped Americans put the gloom and doom aside, if for only a few hours.
Sure is dark tonight. No moon. Oh well. Yada-dee-da-dum, da-dee-da-dum, da-dum, dum-dee-da-da-dum. Hey, Bud. Huh? You got a match? Yes, I have one right here. Don't make a move. This is a stick-up. Mister, put down that gun. Shut up. I said this is a stick-up. Now, come on. Your money or your life? Look, Bud, I said your money or your life. I'm thinking it over.
On March 4th, 1933, a new president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, gave Americans hope, along with a phrase that will last forever.
This great nation will endure as it has endured. We will thrive and we will prosper. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
8 days later, WEAF listeners heard the first of Roosevelt's Fireside Chats, popular broadcasts that helped to push through Congress many New Deal programs.
I want to tell you what has been done in the last few days, why it was done, and what the next steps are going to be. The bank holiday, while resulting in many cases with the administration in place and new economic policies taking shape, many Americans began to feel that the country was recovering momentum. There was, however, opposition to FDR's reforms, and one of the most vocal opponents was heard almost weekly on WEAF, Louisiana Senator Huey Long.
Now it is with the PWAs, the GWAs, the NRAs, the AAAs, JUGs, and the GINs. There is starvation, there is homelessness, there is misery on every hand and corner, but mind you, in the meantime, Mr. Roosevelt has had his way. There's one man that can't blame anything on anybody but himself, and that's Mr. Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
Huey Long called himself the Kingfish, after a character on the popular Amos and Andy show. He was the hillbilly come to power, and for a while successfully played on the fears and prejudices of many Americans. By 1936, however, Huey Long was gone from the political scene, felled by an assassin's bullet. Meanwhile, the original Kingfish was enjoying a long run on NBC's Amos and Andy.
Andy, listen to the man. He's about to open his big mouth.
Yeah, let's everybody listen. Rinso, the new Rinso with Solium, brings you the Amos and Andy Show.
Amos and Andy, beloved by some and eventually beloathed by others, was the highest-rated program in radio history. The show was conceived by Freeman Gosden and Charles Correll, who not only wrote all the scripts, but acted most of the parts as well.
But, George, it's too bad Mama ain't gonna be here with us this Christmas.
Suits me fine. I wonder what kind of crummy present you'll get from your mama this year.
You don't even talk that way, George, because Mama sent you a lovely clock for your desk last year, and it ain't her fault you went and ruined it.
Well, I wasn't taking no chances. When I got a package from that old walrus that was sick, and I soaked it in the bathtub before I opened it.
In the 1960s, Amos and Andy would be lambasted by critics as a classic example of prejudice and ethnic stereotyping. However, during the 30s and 40s, most people just thought it was funny.
I wish I had some money.
Well, Kingfish, money doesn't always bring happiness. Look at Andy. He told me that he thinks he lacks the polish and culture to get the type of girl that he would like to have.
He's sure been around with a lot of Debbie tramps, all right.
Feels that if he had polish, he could be a suave and gay person. Or, as they say in French, a bon vivant.
Yeah, is that right?
Yes, he spoke even of taking a course in some charm school to improve his English and manners.
Henry, a light just flashed in my head. Instead of going to the employment agency like my wife wanted me to do, I think I'm going to open a charm school.
A charm school?
Yeah, Henry. If Andy wants to spend some money and be bright and sparkling around girls, I'm just a fella that can polish him off.
Amos and Andy revolutionized radio comedy, opening the door to a unique style of humor that allowed a listener to fully utilize his or her imagination. This theater of the mind made it possible for WEAF listeners to be entertained weekly by a wooden boy, brought to life by ventriloquist Edgar Bergen.
Hello, Mr. Fields.
Hello, blood poison. You know, Charlie really loves you, Mr. Fields.
Yes, I do. But I don't think Mr. Fields loves me.
Now, listen, that's gone far enough. I've been a gentleman up to now. Why, what's the matter, Bill? Well, he's not going to tell me I don't love him. I'll break every knot in his body.
The Charlie McCarthy Show was not without controversy, however. One Saturday evening, WEAF listeners were shocked by a Charlie McCarthy Mae West sketch that crossed the boundaries of 1930s taste.
Oh, hello, short, dark, and handsome.
Hello, tall, blonde, and terrific. Say, Charlie, do you smell that perfume?
Yes. Isn't it ravishing? Yes, it is. It's ravishing. It's weakening. So help me, I'm swooning. What is this?
Why, it's my favorite perfume, Ashes of Men.
Uh-oh. Ashes of Men? Holy smoke. She's not going to make a sinner out of me.
Tell me, Miss West, have you ever found the one man in your life that you could really love?
Sure, lots of times.
All right.
You look pretty good to me, Charlie. Come here. You ain't afraid I'd do you wrong.
Well, now that you ask,
you're afraid I'll do you right.
Well, I'm slightly confused. I need time for that one, May.
That's all right. I like a man what takes his time.
Well...
Come here. I'll show you how to act.
Oh, but May, don't be so rough. To me, love is peace and quiet.
That ain't love, that's sleep.
Phone calls flooded the WEAF and NBC switchboards as hundreds of irate listeners expressed disapproval of the risque sketch. As a result, Mae West was banned from network radio for over 15 years. And for 10 of those years, NBC wouldn't allow anyone to even mention her name on the air. Most programs, however, refrained from resorting to such distasteful dialogue. One such show was hosted by the business's best-loved entertainer, Jack Benny.
Strike program starring Jack Benny.
Impeccable timing, great scripts, and a wonderful supporting cast enabled Jack Benny to rise to the top of WEAF listener polls for most of the 1930s and 40s. One of the program's funniest sketches involved Jack and Warner Brothers cartoon voice king Mel Blanc.
They killed my workers and took the mine. I had to flee into the hills for my life. After wandering for days, I stumbled exhausted into a camp of insurrectos. At first they were suspicious, but finally one of them came over and shook my hand.
You want to shake hands?
See?
Then I consider you my friend?
See?
You will always help me?
See?
Then to my surprise, he walked away. I turned to go. Someone pulled at my sleeve.
Oh, Senor Irish.
What is it?
Before you leave, I would like you to meet my little 6-year-old son, Tomas.
Oh, hello, Tomas.
Tomas, he is learning to be a magician. He does a wonderful act on the stage with his sister.
Really? So you're a magician, eh, Tomas?
Sí.
Do you have an act?
Sí.
With your sister?
Sí.
What is your sister's name?
Sue.
Sue?
Sí.
Well, what do you do in your act?
Saw.
What do you saw?
Sue.
Sue?
Sí.
Now, wait a minute. Somebody put you up to this. Who was it?
Me.
You?
Sí.
Who are you?
Sorry.
Side?
Sí.
The Thunder is back. That's right, the Thunder is back at Bob Thomas Ford Birdland, famous from Washington, D.C. to the Canadian border as the only place to buy your next Thunderbird. Bob Thomas Birdland, where you'll find a complete selection of new 88 Thunderbirds, from Thunderbird to Thunderbird LX, to T-Bird Sport to Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, for performance you won't forget. So isn't it time you rewarded yourself with the style and comfort of a Bob Thomas Thunderbird? Right now you can buy a brand new 88 Thunderbird loaded with air conditioning, power windows and locks, tilt wheels, speed control, stereo cassette, plus more for only $12,888. Find out for yourself what $12,888 buys in a brand new 88 T-Bird from Bob Thomas Ford Birdland. With factory discounts, Ford cash assistance, and Birdland discounts, you'll save more than $4,000 on selected models. So take the road by storm and head straight for Bob Thomas Ford Birdland, Hamden, Connecticut, 1/2 mile north of exit 60 off the Merritt Parkway. Bob Thomas Ford Birdland. The Thunder is back.
1, 2, 3. Siemens first for your furniture. Siemens first for the savings. Siemens first for selection. Siemens first for the service. Siemens first sensational. Siemens first quick delivery. Siemens first. Siemens first when you decorate. Siemens first for a package. Siemens first, it's a real deal. Siemens first. When you're getting furniture, you gotta get the Siemens first. You can't beat the prices when you see Siemens first. Yeah.
WNBC, WNBC.
Coming, Mother!
Jay Kaiser and his band from the Carolines play a medley of old-time tunes.
I don't think I have to tell you, do I? This was Margie.
One Man's Family is dedicated to the mothers and fathers of the younger generation and to their bewildering offspring. Tonight we present Chapter 7, Book 43, entitled The Man Who Lay with His Face in the Leaves.
WEAF and NBC offerings in the 30s included comedy and music programs, soap operas, and talent shows.
We present Major Bowles and his original amateur hour.
Good evening, friends. Once again, the wheel of chance, or fate, as you please, is about to revolve. And as the barker standing at the wheel of fortune says, around, around she goes, and where she stops, nobody knows.
One night, the wheel stopped in front of a group from Hoboken, led by a brash, skinny kid by the name of Sinatra.
Who'll speak for the group?
I will. I'm Frank, Major. We're looking for jobs. How about it? Everyone that's ever heard us liked us. We think we're pretty good. And we play real swing music, too.
Real modern swing music, ultra-modern music. What's your tune?
The Curse of an Aching Heart.
Curse of an Aching Heart.
You made me what I am today. I hope you're satisfied. You drag me down and down until the soul within me dies.
On another WEAF program, actor Wallace Beery was host to a future superstar, 12-year-old Judy Garland.
Now, what do you want to do when you grow up to be a great big girl, huh?
I want to be a singer, Mr. Berry. And I'd like to act, too.
Well, you'll do it. Don't worry. I'll go right to it, and if you need me, I'll be standing right there. You hear?
Everybody dance. Broadway rhythm is got me. Everybody dance. Out on the gay white way in each merry cafe, orchestras play, taking your breath away. With the Broadway rhythm, it's got me. Everybody sing. What it is to say. And what does do? What does do? What seems true? What seems true? Going to town, going to town. Yeah, yeah. Everybody
As the 30s drew to a close, however, the applause and laughter radiating from WEAF's powerful 50,000-watt transmitter was being replaced by an ominous, threatening sound.
Dumm genug sind, sich uns zu widersetzen, werden wir nicht vergessen. Aber wir werden auch die nicht vergessen, die den richtigen Weg einschlagen.
Hitler's army was sweeping across Europe. NBC microphones were in London when the German bombers arrived.
This is London at about 23 minutes past 1 o'clock. Fred Bay speaking. London is now having its 25th successive night raid. Lord Woolton appealed to coffee stalls, the carts that used to sell coffee and meat pies to night workers and people just out at night to reopen their businesses as a help in feeding the homeless.
World War II was the first war to be fully covered by radio. Each day, WEAF brought the conflict into homes throughout the tri-state area. As Hitler gobbled up country after country, many Americans began to worry about reports of German U-boats prowling up and down the eastern seaboard. As 1941 wound down, the much-feared attack came, but not from the Atlantic, and not from Germany. Sunday, December 7th, 1941. WEAF listeners were enjoying the swing and sway of Sammy Kaye when this bulletin sent shockwaves through millions of Americans.
the Japanese have attacked the Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, from the air. I'll repeat that. President Roosevelt says that the Japanese have attacked Pearl Harbor in Hawaii from the air.
And Pearl Harbor wasn't the only place under attack.
Hello, NBC. This is Bert Salmon speaking from Manila, and this time I've got a real scoop for you. Manila has just been bombed. In fact, right now it is being bombed. The all-clear signal had sounded, and then, without warning, Japanese bombers started bombing Fort William McKinley, Nichols Airfield, and the RCA transmitting station.
The next day, WEAF microphones were in Washington.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
America was at war. WEAF and NBC geared up for the effort with new shows designed to help sell war bonds and involve listeners in salvage drives. Entertainment programs joined in the push.
Friends, before we start tonight's dramatic story, I'd like to have a personal word with you. With our country at war, with each and every one of us determined to win this war, our government needs your material support. Buy all the defense savings bonds and stamps you can. Do your share in helping our country to win.
Big-name performers took their shows on the road, playing before troops in faraway lands.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bob. Don't ask me where I am because I don't know, and even if I did know, I couldn't tell because it's a military secret hope. Yes, sir. And we had a great trip over. We flew over. Didn't bother me a bit. Had a few drinks in Canada, flew blind all the way, and here we are. Well, I want to tell you, it's a thrill to be here, and I've got very little to report from home. Outside of their drafting all the leading men in Hollywood, that is the young leading men. Crosby's still there. You know, if it keeps up, most of the leading men next season will be on the adrenaline side. Can you imagine Hedy Lamarr waiting to be kissed while Louis Stone looks around for a place to plug in his heating pad?
10 p.m. Eastern Wartime, WEAF, New York.
As the conflict wore on, WEAF provided moments of escape for war-weary listeners. Fear and stress were replaced by laughter when families spent a half hour with comedians such as the incomparable husband and wife team of George Burns and Gracie Allen.
Tracy, both my arms are going to sleep. Honestly, this package feels like it has rocks in it. I wish this line would move a little faster.
George Burns, don't you dare criticize the post office. Why, I honestly believe that if it wasn't for the post office, we wouldn't get half of our mail.
Tracy, I'm not complaining about the post office.
Well, you better not. Now, let me see. Oh, pardon me, madam, but do you know where the superintendent's office is?
I'm afraid not. I'm a stranger here.
Oh, really? Where are you from?
I'm from Waterbury.
No, were you born there?
Yes.
Well, that's very interesting. Were you ever born in San Francisco?
How could I be born in San Francisco?
Oh, it's easy. I was.
I'm sorry, miss, but I must be off.
Well, aren't we all?
War news was heard throughout the day on WEAF. NBC correspondents were on all the fighting fronts and reported on the major battles of World War II. George Hicks was with the invasion fleet off the beaches of Normandy on D-Day.
Now planes are going overhead. That baby was pretty low. Looks like we're going to have a night tonight.
Something burning is falling down through the sky.
NBC reporters followed the Allied troops as they fought their way through France, across the Rhine, and into Germany. The news from Europe during the first months of 1945 was promising. However, on April 12th, H.V. Kaltenborn interrupted WEAF programming with this tragic report from the home front.
Good afternoon, everybody. The President of the United States died
at 3:35 p.m. this afternoon in the warm springs environment that he loved so much. He dies at the end of an era. Few men have lived through so much.
Sadly, had President Roosevelt lived just a few weeks longer, he would have seen victory in Europe. NBC's W.W. Chaplin reported on the signing of the German surrender on May 8th.
General Yodel walked straight to his place at the center of the table, threw his cap on the table, and sat down without a gesture or a word to anyone. And then the others sat down. A few quiet words from General Smith, and the sheaf of documents were laid in front of Yodel. He was handed a pen. He was told to sign. He signed.
With the war in Europe concluded, the American forces concentrated on bringing the Pacific conflict to a close. The final turning point in the war with Japan would come on August 6th. The Fred Waring program on WEAF was interrupted by this bulletin.
The White House has just made an important announcement on the war. To bring you this story, we interrupt our program to take you to Washington.
This is Ralph Howard Peterson in Washington. I have just returned from the White House, where it has just been announced that the United States is now using an atomic bomb, the most powerful explosive yet developed.
Hiroshima was destroyed by the atomic blast, followed 2 days later by Nagasaki, and in less than a month, Japan agreed to unconditional surrender.
This is Richard Harkness speaking from the NBC newsroom in Washington. The word is, ladies and gentlemen, at this moment, that Japan is accepting our ultimatum for unconditional surrender.
This is Times Square tonight. Coming past me is a group, I should say, of about 65 or 70 boys and gals, sailors and soldiers, going down the street, whooping it up for all their worth.
And how these men of the Navy are taking over San Francisco here in the Bay Area tonight. They're going up the streets with their girls on their shoulders. Modesty has been thrown to the wind.
September 1st, 1945. 6 years to the day it started. World War II was over.
66 WNBC.
American wartime prosperity continued into the post-war years. Unemployment levels were low, and there seemed to be money everywhere. WEAF programs were even giving away cash. One of the early WEAF quiz shows was Dr. IQ, and the winners received silver dollars.
Presenting Dr. IQ. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Donald Out, our first contestant of the evening, please.
I have a lady here, Doctor.
$6 for the correct answer to this one. The former capital of China was named Peking. By what name is this city now known? No coaching, please.
I'm sorry, Doctor, I don't know.
Peking. However, give that lady a box of 24 bars of chocolate Milky Way and 2 tickets to next week's production here at the Chicago Theater, Daughters Courageous.
The giveaways seemed to dominate late 1940s radio schedules night and day.
From Hollywood, Campbell Soup presents Double or Nothing, starring Walter O'Keefe.
Comes now our big payoff, the Red and White Sweepstakes, and it carries from Campbell Soups today a total amount of $322. Now, if nobody wins, the entire amount will be added to Monday's Red and White Sweepstakes. Quotes, no Nobel Peace Prize will be awarded this year. To what American was it awarded in 1945?
Campbell's bring you the Red and White Sweepstakes. Campbell's paying off again. Take a try at the
Game shows were at the top of the ratings, but not everyone was a fan. One of the most vocal critics of the giveaways was WEAF's Fred Allen, whose own program, The Fred Allen Show, was being clobbered by ABC's Stop the Music. At one point, Fred Allen offered listeners an insurance policy to keep them tuned in.
If you, any listener in the continental United States, answer a telephone call made by any giveaway radio program during the next 30 minutes, and because you are listening to Fred Allen, you miss an opportunity to win an article of merchandise or a cash prize, National Surety Corporation guarantees
that Fred Allen will perform his agreement to replace the merchandise or reimburse you for any amount of prize money you have lost, up to $5,000.
One night, Fred Allen lampooned the quiz format in this exchange with Jack Benny.
People don't want entertainment today. A radio show has to give away things. Nylons, ice boxes, automobiles.
You mean to stay on the air, you have to give things away? Free?
Yes. I'll die first.
A popular segment of the Fred Allen Show was a trip down Allen's Alley.
Well, here we are back in Allen's Alley, Portland. I guess Senator Claghorn's in all right. Look, his scooter is on the front veranda there. Well, let's make sure.
Somebody's banging my door, trying to bag it. Oh, it's you, droop face.
Tell me, Senator, about this exaggeration and misrepresentation in advertising.
Advertising is the grease that lubricates the wheels of progress.
You think advertising?
Son, advertising gets results.
How?
Before advertising, a man didn't know where his T-zone was.
But,
Does was just laying around doing nothing.
Well, Senator, tell me, are the politicians keeping up with the businessmen? Are the politicians advertising?
They sure are. Them Republicans is advertising a slogan. It's just 5 letters.
5 letters?
LSMFT.
What does LSMFT stand for?
Let's swap MacArthur for Truman. So long, son. Go on, Elliot.
I think the senator's been drinking too many malted milks. He's a little frap happy. Oh, well, let's try this next door.
Jeffy.
Ah, Mrs. Nussbaum. Tell me, Mrs. Nussbaum, have you been victimized by misrepresentation in advertising?
Mostly in the movies.
In the movies?
On the screen is showing a trailer.
Yes?
It is saying, coming next week, you shouldn't miss it. Chills will leaping up your spine.
I see.
Always this week the picture is bad.
Bad?
Next week is coming a humdinger.
I've noticed that.
Last night I'm going to the movies.
A double feature?
The zombie is getting up his dander in Technicolor.
Yes.
Also, the wolf man is having a litter.
I've seen that. Very good. How were the pictures?
2 blinches.
Oh, bad.
Again, it's flashing on the screen. Coming next week, you were blowing your top.
That's coming next week.
One thing is not coming next week.
What?
I am not coming, thank you.
The WWII Comedy Cavalcade continued with Jim and Marion Jordan, better known to audiences as the lovable Fibber McGee and Molly.
McGee never helps me wash the dirty dishes, McGee.
Come in. You kids want to buy any Easter eggs?
No, thank you, Mr. Oldtimer. I don't believe we want any.
No, come on, kids. Well, I'll see you later, kids. Sorry I didn't want any Easter eggs. Hey, that's the wrong door, old
No, yeah, that's the closet door.
Ain't you kids ever going to straighten out that gosh darn museum?
In November 1946, WEAF adopted a new set of call letters, WNBC. The name may have changed, however, the mission remained the same. Provide listeners with top information and entertainment.
From Hollywood, Camel Cigarettes present the Jimmy Durante Show. And now, here to start things off with his pal, the talented young comedian Alan Young, is the Wizard of Snaz himself, the one and only Jimmy Durante, in person.
You've got to start off each day with a song. Now, even when things go wrong, now you feel better, you even look better.
40 million people in England, and Princess Elizabeth leaves a baby with me. Alan, isn't he beautiful? Look at him. Look at him. He's reaching up to me.
No wonder he thinks your nose is an 8-ounce bottle.
Please, Mr.
Young. They got great plans for my nose in England. As soon as they can get chimes in it, it's going to replace Big Ben.
For 13 years, the Kraft Music Hall was hosted by crooner Bing Crosby.
And the blues of the night meets the gold of the day. Someone waits for
From a well-earned vacation, Bing AWOL Crosby.
AWOL? What's this AWOL?
And then she holds my hand. And then I understand. Her eyes of fire.
The incomparable Al Jolson was the Kraft Music Hall host in 1947.
Liza, the skies are gray when you belong to me, and the clouds roll away.
I remember when I was a kid, I used to stand outside Luke's House Restaurant on 14th Street with my nose pressed against the window and watch the celebrities eat. Just for old time's sake, I went down there again today, and I pressed my nose against the same window. A man came out and said, "Look, bud, I can't put up with this anymore. You've been standing out here for 40 years. Come in and have a free meal."
Liza, name of the day, when you belong to me, all the clouds will roll away.
You know, over the years, nearly all of the big-name stars have appeared on this station.
That's me, Groucho Marx.
Comedian Groucho Marx was host of his own NBC program, You Bet Your Life. It was a game show that was more a showcase for Groucho's razor-sharp wit than a traditional quiz program.
What does your husband do for a living?
He's a thread broker for Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company.
Well, give him my congratulations. What is a thread broker?
I don't know.
Are you handy around the kitchen, Yvonne?
Oh, I think I am.
What kind of dishes do you like to prepare?
Oh, I love to prepare tacos, enchiladas, tamales, frijoles.
Well, your husband is a lucky man to have someone who can prepare all those tasty Mexican dishes. What is his favorite dish?
Sauerbraten.
And for drama, there were these WNBC classics.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
William Gargan stars as Barry Craig, confidential investigator.
The old saying, early to rise, folks, can't possibly mean a thing to a corpse.
On stage tonight, Dimension X, another in the Wheaties big parade of exciting half-hour presentations.
Now, tonight's adventure into the world of the unknown. The world of Dimension X.
But the biggest program on the WNBC schedule in the early 50s was hosted by Tallulah Bankhead and appropriately titled The Big Show.
Carson Jack. Born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Favorite actor? Jack Carson. Favorite leading lady? Dennis Morgan.
Isn't he a doll? Spelled D-U-L-L.
Russell Rosalind, born Waterbury, Connecticut. Luck has followed me ever since my school days at Barnard, where I studied metaphysics, theology, and journalism. And tonight I find myself on the big show. Oh, well, my luck had to turn sometime.
But what can you expect from a girl who was educated in a barnyard?
Silver's Phil. Real name, Jessica Dragonette. Changed it to Phil Silvers because I already had a brother named Jessica Dragonette. Born, Brooklyn, New York. Happy that I have at last become associated with one of the greatest names in the theater.
Darling.
The Big Show was 90 minutes of superb wit and sophistication.
Now, darling, I want to take just a moment to ring my silver anniversary chimes.
3 chimes of silver.
This is NBC, the National Broadcasting Company.
WNBC, New York.
WNBC, New York and the nation.
National Broadcasting Company invites you to hear another concert with the NBC Symphony Orchestra under its celebrated conductor, Arturo Toscanini. The applause of our studio audience has indicated the entrance of Maestro Toscanini, and in just a moment our concert will begin as we hear the classical symphony in D major by the contemporary Russian composer Sergei Prokofiev.
For nearly 2 decades, the NBC Symphony was a fixture on WEAF and WNBC program schedules. The orchestra performed from Studio 8H in Radio City, and when that wasn't big enough for the thousands who wanted to attend, they moved to Carnegie Hall. Conductor Arturo Toscanini led what many considered to be history's finest assemblage of musicians. The orchestra was created in 1937 when RCA's David Sarnoff coaxed Toscanini out of retirement.
I was assured by the maestro's friends that he never changed his mind about anything and that he had vowed never to return. But Maestro Toscanini, lured by our offer of creating a great orchestra for him alone and for radio alone, returned to America and presided over the newly formed NBC Symphony for 17 seasons.
In 1954, Toscanini and the NBC Symphony retired. The maestro's Carnegie Hall farewell was a gala celebration. Ben Grauer, musical commentator for most of the NBC Symphony broadcasts, described to WNBC listeners Toscanini's final performance.
The final work, the prelude to Wagner's Die Meistersinger. Control room, like everyone else, filled with emotion, growing almost unbearably tense as the end of their fabulous career approached. As the last chord sounded, the baton dropped from the maestro's hand. Arturo Toscanini turned, walked off the stage, and into musical immortality.
Another 1954 final performance for the call letters WNBC, because on October 18th, the station's name was changed again, this time to WRCA, reflecting ownership by the Radio Corporation of America. The entire radio industry as well was undergoing change. Most broadcasters in the 1950s felt the electronic eye of television had placed a whammy on radio. As primetime audiences moved to TV for entertainment, many big-budget radio network programs bit the dust. WRCA's schedule, however, still retained a few hardy perennials, such as Dragnet, Fibber McGee and Molly, and the Great Gildersleeve.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Willard Waterman as the Great Gildersleeve.
Where is he?
I ain't seen him since breakfast.
Well, he's supposed to burn all this junk that came out of his room. I guess I'll have to stuff it in the incinerator myself. Hey, what's this? Oh, that tie he gave me for Christmas.
I wonder why he's burning your tie.
I gave it back to him.
Innovative programs continued to appear on WRCA. One of the most successful and longest-running radio concepts was born during this period. Going places and doing things was the motto of NBC Monitor. Each weekend, WRCA listeners were entertained and informed by Monitor communicators, including over the years Frank Blair, Gene Rayburn, Ed McMahon, Ben Grauer, and Dave Garroway.
Isn't that a mad noise? That's Monitor's trademark, and will call your attention to the show most any time you hear it. In fact, they now have a thing called the Monitor Mambo, if you like. And we're going to give you a sneak preview of it. It's just been recorded by Perez Prado, the old Mambo King. It's so new that the record is still soft and quivering here.
Monitor segments featured news, weather, sports, music, and celebrity interviews.
After you got what you want, did you want it?
Well, the thing I like the most is to become a real actress. And I remember when I was a kid, sitting in the front row at the movies on Saturday afternoon, and I would never come